Hello subscribers! Welcome to my first official anime review, and I've got a doozy here for you. Maze, the Megaburst Space. This is an anime I originally watched as a child, and when I watched it as an adult, I knew I had to do a review about it, because there were things that I apparently did not notice as a kid, or at least did not remember, and it needs to be covered. So first, I'll start by reading the synopsis, because that'll be better than me trying to make up my own. Maze wakes up in her house, everything is a wreck and she has amnesia. Before she can gather what has happened, the girl Mill storms into her house thanking her for having saved her life. She tells Maze that her house suddenly fell down from the sky and crushed Mill's pursuers under it. However, before long, they are both on the run from further pursuers who want their hands on Princess Mill. Yep, that is an awkward way of saying that. Anyway. They are only saved when Maze discovers she has phantom light, magical powers, and can summon Mill's family heirloom mecha. However, her performance with the mecha is weak. That is, until the sun goes down and she is turned into a lecherous man. Soon, other travelers join them as Maze tries to protect Mill and figure out what she is doing in this fantasy world. Spoiler alert, this lecherous man she turns into is actually her brother. We find that out about halfway through the anime. I'm not going to hold back on spoilers for this. This is a 3-star anime, and really, I only rank it 3 stars out of nostalgia. If I had only watched this as an adult, it would probably be worth 2 stars. I'm not sure. It does have a decent opening theme, and other music is pretty good. On the surface, it would seem like they're twin brother and sister, but really I don't think they are. You don't really get a whole lot of indication that they would be twins, other than their similar look and similar age. But Woman Maze specifically calls Man Maze older brother once they have their memory back. And they are called Maze because Woman Maze's actual name is May, and Man Maze's name is Akira, which apparently, if you use the right kanji, also spells maze. May. So maze is like plural, as these brother and sister share the same being, so to speak. Alright, that does it with that. Let's get into the meat of it now. So first up we have violence. Yes, of course, there's violence. And it's got unbalanced pacifism. This is actually the anime that made me think of the term for unbalanced pacifism, because Woman Maze does not like violence, she doesn't want to fight, and Man Maze is just the opposite. So Woman Maze's pacifism bleeds over into Man Maze's, so sapping his power, so they actually can't save anybody when they're in danger.
What was that? What do you think you're doing? Are you against me too?
We mustn't kill each other. You must calm down and talk it out. You know, compromise.
Ah, compromise? Talk it out? This is not the time, stupid!
Did you call me stupid?
See that woman, Maze?
Huh?
Look what happened while you were busy nagging me!
Ah! But wait!
Shut up! Keep out of this! Your half-assed kindness doesn't solve a damn thing!
Kindness alone can't solve everything.
Now, on the one hand, they're not wrong. That was no time to be a pacifist. The problem is the way they go about it. They don't have any balance. Like, there's no point where, as far as I remember, no point where her kindness is actually the correct answer for a situation. Every situation, it's the violence option that is correct. And for brutality, people don't die. It's mostly a safe anime. Obviously, some people do die, the enemies specifically, but it doesn't really feel all that dangerous. There can be some Looney Tunes violence in some situations. Physical gore and psychological gore, nothing really to speak of. There might be some blood, but not enough to justify marking the gore. As for the Isaiah 520 trope, Evil Church. That Evil Church is a big one. The main enemy is called the Jaina Holy Group. which on its own would be enough to fit in this evil church category, but it gets much worse. One of the enemies is modeled after Christianity. He's made to be the type of person who is always quoting scripture without actually telling you what he's quoting. Like, he doesn't give chapter and verse. They just want to make him sound religious.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
But this, of course, makes the Gina Holy Group sound Christian, or like the anime is intending for them to be Christian, which it is obviously not. And this is the only character that does this. So this stupid character is the only indication you would get that the Gina Holy Group would have any connection to Christianity. And this, of course, also fits it into the third level of Isaiah 5:20 trope. But there is more that makes the anime fit this category, which I will go over later. Witchcraft is ritual and incantation. Most of the time it's just incantation, and even then it's probably not too often, but there is one scene where they use both a ritual and an incantation.
Carla, Reto, Barrio,
The incantation itself doesn't mean anything, it's just gibberish. And the source where they're getting the magic is this phantom light power, which they explain away as basically pseudo-scientific. So really, magic is just science we haven't discovered yet. So it does not fit the level 3. And here's all the language you'll find in it. Maybe. There might be more. I don't plan on doing this with future animes. In future anime reviews, I plan to actually take notes of what language is used, but this one I'm going primarily off memory. So I could be missing one. I'm not sure if this one's actually said, I'm just guessing. But that is the language you will find in this anime. Now we are getting into the meat of the anime, into the real big problems with this anime, with Maze, the Megaverse space. It is purposely sexualized. It does not have any nudity, but it is purposely sexualized. It goes total ecchi humor and basically tries to normalize every sexual sin.
Hey, how come the princess gets to be Oliver Maze and I don't?
I think it's favoritism.
It's indecent, Princess Mill.
It sure is. I'm envious.
Hey, can I join?
Yeah, let's.
I can't stand it!
But it's not as bad as the OVA. The OVA actually gets even worse, which is only 2 episodes long, and I did not take any clips for this one. But the OVA would go completely into fan service territory and with regular nudity. And it gets even worse than that, because Man-Maze is lecherous throughout the whole anime. He's always trying to get with most, if not all, the females. And in the OVA, he succeeds and basically rapes a girl. So I absolutely do not recommend the OVA. Just do not even bother with that one. Homosexuality. It is definitely jokingly about it a lot of the time, but it is also a serious bit in the background. One of the main characters is stated to be a lesbian, and they actually try to get a lot of humor out of that, as she is constantly trying to grope and hit on woman Maze. And at this point, I gotta tell you to skip episode 7. Episode 7 would make it so Serious with Relationship gets marked. In episode 7, they give background to this Salud, is the lesbian character. And it is completely unnecessary. Not just because it marks level 3 of homosexuality, but even as far as plot and story goes, it is a completely useless episode, which you can safely skip. Now we move on into transsexualism, and this is where it starts to get interesting. Because feminine men and masculine women, sure, it does have it, and cross-dressing, yeah, possibly. It gets complicated though, as one of the characters, whose name I don't remember, is difficult to say whether she's a he or a she. I'm going to call her a she because that's where most of the evidence seems to point. But then Man-Maze does not treat her like a she.
You're my type. I guess this must
be loved too.
I'm not into that kind of love. Ah!
Oh no! Wait for me!
Like how I will!
Man-maze!
So we get strong indication that this is actually a guy, but he calls himself a woman. Other characters say she, and he even wears a dress at one point. It's generally hard to tell. Now, you might think that them calling her a she, when it's obvious he thinks of her like a man, would fit nicely into the ideology category. But you'd be wrong, because another character who is most definitely female has a whole storyline where she is raised to be a man.
A woman has no use for the Saracens. You gave birth to a boy. As Rapier Saris, he will represent the 37th generation of our lineage. You are a man. You're a man. You are a man. You're a man. You are a man. You're a man.
Indeed, I am a man. I must be stronger than anyone else. I never doubted it.
So Rapier is raised to be a man, but then the main characters come in and she is confronted with the fact that she is actually a woman.
You're a woman, are you not? Well, answer me.
I am.
Yes, a man is a man, a woman a woman. We should all live as God intended, without any pretenses.
Snap out of your twisted skull and be true to yourself. A man is a man. A woman is a woman. You don't go around pretending that you're not.
And she comes to terms with this. So in spite of how woke this anime is in trying to normalize every sexual deviancy, it does not go full ideology for transsexualism. And I would say that's, of course, some of that is because it's almost impossible for anime to actually do that. Because if they drew the character so obvious that they look like a man, but everyone calls them a woman and they wear a dress and everything, well, the obviously drawing them as a man kind of goes against the ideology. And if they draw them as a woman and everybody calls them a woman, in what way could you possibly say they are a man? Or that they ever were a man? So it's actually very difficult for an anime to fully go into the ideology of transsexualism. But Maze actually goes against the ideology. And that is the one bright spot I'm gonna say with this anime. And now, hang on. Also, there's no bestiality. That's the one deviancy they don't go into, that and necrophilia, I guess. But now we get into the real overarching problem with Maze. So about halfway through the series, Man Maze and Woman Maze get their memory back and realize they are brother and sister, and we are treated to this scene.
Maze, I always wish that I could become one with May. And I'm sure May, too, has always felt the same way.
Perhaps.
That's right, incest. This entire anime, does not just have incest. It doesn't just blindly support incest. It actively encourages it. It romanticizes it.
We came to this world
To be able to love each other.
Obviously, no character has any issue with this brother and sister falling in love. The idea that such a union is even wrong is not even allowed to be entertained. Their father, who is obviously against it, is never shown. He is just a shadowy figure in the background. You never really see his face, and you certainly never hear him talk. Because of course, if you could hear him talk, you would hear his reasons why they should not be together. But this anime does not want you to know those reasons. I didn't look into this, but you get the clear impression from watching this that the person who made this anime was doing it to excuse his own feelings. I don't know if that's the case. I just get that impression from watching it. And the last transgression we cover is pedophilia. Yes, technically it has pedophilia. I did not want to mark this as a yes. I wanted to mark it as a maybe, because Mill is of questionable age. And Man-Maze, it's one of his goals is to sleep with Mill. It's very obvious. I shouldn't even say it's obvious. It's that implies that it's just implied. No, it's directly stated. He wants to sleep with Mill. And how old is Mill? We don't know. And apparently neither does the anime.
So, let's take a good soak and get 5 years younger again!
How old will you be if you take away 5 years?
So if even the anime doesn't know how old she is, then I could easily just assume she's old enough for it not to be pedophilia. The problem is there's too much evidence to the contrary. One, as you saw in that clip, her voice is unnaturally high-pitched. I think they do this with other children too, where the actor, I guess, was not able to get a young enough voice, so they just artificially raise the pitch. Two is how she acts is also very young. She calls Man-Maze and Woman-Maze big brothers, big sister brother, which she starts doing very early on before you realize about the incest. So it's with Man-Maze constantly trying to sleep with Mill and Mill calling them big sister brother, it's kind of priming you for the inevitable incest. But back to the pedophilia. She acts young, she sounds young, but there is one final straw that broke the camel's back on this, and that's a scene I could not find. I looked so much to try and find this scene, and I know it happened, but I have no idea which episode it happened or where to look for it. But in at least one scene, Man-Maze will say to or about Mill that they will have some adult time. The fact that he says it that way, that he calls what he wants to do with her adult time, indicates that she is not an adult. Now, of course, it could also indicate that he's not an adult, because in that scene earlier where, in the OVA, where he raped the girl, he also said adult time, and I don't think she was Mill's age. I think her age was more appropriate. So it could be argued that he is just using adult time because he doesn't think of himself as an adult. There is an argument to be made for that, but I'm not going to make that argument. I think the evidence is stacked too high against the anime. It does endorse pedophilia. And incest and pedophilia obviously puts it in the Isaiah 520 trope level 3. So that is Maze the Megaburst Space. It is a 3-star anime, and I do not recommend it for obvious reasons. But you can use this video to make your own decision about whether you think Maze is actually worth checking out. I don't think it is, but there is my opinion on the matter. Good day.